Today we're going to be doing an oil change on this 2017 Mitsubishi with the 2-liter. And let's go. A couple tools we'll need for this job is a basic tool kit over here. Just make sure it has a 17 mil and a 10 mil socket in it. Your basic oil filter wrench, your choice of whatever. We're also going to need a way to raise the car over here. And we're obviously going to need some oil, which we have ready, and your filter. And we're going to need a place to drain the oil up over here and a way to pour the new oil. Nice to have, so going to be some gloves, get some rags, and oil filter disposal unit. And now to raise the car, and lifted. Got the hood propped here. Just gonna crack this oil cap just for a little better venting and cooling. Just gonna give her 30 minutes or so to cool down and get back at it. To make her drain pan, just gonna take your old water jug here, give her one of these. Easy does it. Done. Oh yeah, that'll send. Now for a way to pour the oil. Again, we can go and buy funnels, but time and money, right? Done. Want a larger one? Same deal. So underneath, all we gotta do is pull off this access panel, which is really nice in here. Just 6 bolts, they're 10 mils. Gives us access to the oil filter and the drain plug. With that access panel off, let's take a sec to locate that oil filter over here, as well as that drain plug. Now that we located the oil filter and the oil pan drain bolt over here, I'm going to go ahead and remove this old oil filter, put the new one on, and then I'm going to drain the old oil. Why? Honestly, it's just preference. If you want to go ahead and drain the oil first, and then worry about the filter, honestly, do it. Just listen to your heart, right? There's no wrong way to do it. Either way is going to work. With saying that, I got my oil pan drain ready to go here. Got my oil filter anti-drip tool on standby and everything else. So we're good to go. Just going to go ahead and put on this oil filter wrench. Make sure that's nice and snug. That's snug. Just gonna grab this 3/8 drive ratchet, give it a couple love taps, make sure it's a little extra snug. Yup, extra snug. I'm gonna make sure she's set for lefty loosey and remove it accordingly. Now that it's loose, just going to remove that oil filter tool, back it off by hand. Also going to make sure this drain pan is kind of creeping forward, just in case that oil does drip. Now that I can kind of loosen it by hand, all I got to do is grab my oil filter drain tool here. Basically, just let it drain. Once this is done draining, all I gotta do now is empty it into that drain pan. We good. Easy does it now. Wait for it to stop dripping. Yep. Beauty. Yeah, I'm gonna take a sec here and get the oil filter all prepped. Just gonna lube up that base gasket. A little oil on top, it's good enough. I'm gonna go the optional route too. I mean, this route's never really steered me wrong, so I'm gonna go ahead and fill up the actual oil filter too. Again, you don't have to do this, but if you fill this up, the oil pressure can build a little quicker in your system. And hey, you know, I'm a big fan of every little bit helps, right? So, I think we're ready. She'll send. Now that the oil filter is removed, I like to go ahead and look to see if there's any of those gaskets stuck to the oil filter housing. Sometimes they are, if they've been put on too hard, right? So this one is nice and clean and ready to go. So all I'm going to do now is grab my oil filter, which is already full of oil, and simply put it on and then tighten it up by hand. Now I'm just going to make sure the bottom of that oil filter lines up with that hole in there, and you'll feel it. Get a couple of threads started and simply hand tighten. Don't want to over tighten these too much, because if you do, they're going to be almost impossible to get off later on down that road. Now that's tightened by hand. It's pretty much as tight as it can go without me really struggling or reefing on it. So we're good. The oil filter on. Now I'm going to go ahead and drop that used oil. Found the drain pan plug over here. I'm going to grab my ratchet, a 17 mil on it. It's all set for lefty loosey. Nice. I also have my drain pan here in standby. It's ready to go. So all we gotta do is back that off. Simply put it on there, stabilize it a little bit. I'm just gonna give it a couple of low taps. Loosen her up. Bring that drain pan a little closer now. Now I can simply get in there, back off that bolt, and let it drain. Make sure you let all the oil drain before putting this bolt back in. Once the oil is completely drained, simply thread this plug back in. Just gonna grab our same ratchet again, put it a righty-tighty, get that out, and just snug it a little bit. Definitely do not want to over tighten this. Done. So we got the pan bolt back in, new oil filter lubed up and on. So basically is going to put this access panel back on. Before I do that though, I mean, see this, we do live in a rust area called Canada, and these bolts are pretty bad, so I'm just going to dip them here and they'll be lubed up for next time around. Make life a little easier, right? So we got this panel back in. We just, those little 2 points here and went right in the slot. And got our last bolt lubed up with that used oil. Put the last bolt in. Of course, it's got to be the most difficult one, which, well, actually wasn't difficult at all. So now these are all kind of in finger tight. We just go back with our 10 mil socket and snug them all down. All we do is add the oil, and that's there. So, got everything buttoned up underneath. Now we just got to add the oil. What kind of oil to use? Well, it usually says it right up here. Usually will say it on your old cap too, or your owner's manual as well. How much to put in? Well, again, it's in the manual. Last step, also the easiest step, add oil. Got our trusty funnel. What do we have here? 2 liters. So this is 5 liters. So 1 more liter to go, and that's going to be 4 liters. We can always top it off and double check it after. Done. Fire her up. Let her run about 30 seconds. And see if we need to top her off. The other awesome part about these funnels is, now that we're done, like an anti-leak system. That's another patent pending. So we fired up, we just backed it down, and that gave a little bit of time for the oil to circulate and reach the top end. So now we're just going to check it, and if it's not full, we just top it up accordingly. So simply pull that stick, give her one of those, and we'll just double check it again. And it's actually pretty full. So I think that's a home run. Now, I know what you're thinking. Ugh, typical hack. But the fact is, we didn't have to go out and buy a bunch of stuff, right? We could have bought that oil pan, right? We could have bought those funnels, but let's say if you did this for the first time and you didn't like it and you thought, yeah, no, I'm not doing this again. Now you're not stuck with a bunch of equipment. The whole idea here is to kind of get the ball rolling and just demonstrate that you don't need a whole lot of equipment to start up a task that you want to start. Anyways, hope it helps, and until next time, we'll see you around, eh? Done.